Good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started today. Thank you all for being here for our first State of the Schools. I'm Maura Mundell. I'm president of the Duneland Chamber of Commerce. And as many of you know, our mission is to elevate Northwest Indiana to be the premier destination to work, live, and play by being the leader for our businesses and communities. A critical part of our community's success is our relationship with the Duneland school system. We take great pride in fostering this connection through programs and events like this one, our high school internship program, the 8th grade reality check, our new teachers reception, and our upcoming new manufacturing day. These initiatives not only support our students, but also strengthen the bond between our schools and local businesses, helping to create the future leaders of our region. Today, we are honored to have with us Dr. Chip Pettit, Superintendent of Duneland Schools, to give us an update on some exciting topics. He will be covering the new strategic plan, student performance, staffing, facilities, and finance, key areas that impact not only our schools, but the entire community. Following his presentation, we'll have hopefully maybe some time for some questions and answers. We will be filming today. We've already started filming. So we just ask that, if you do ask any questions, speak loudly, and just to make sure you're comfortable with that. Our video is up here. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Pettit to the stage.
Thank you, Maura and Rachel, Michelle, and the Chamber for the opportunity to speak today. Nice to see so many familiar faces. Again, my name is Chip Pettit. I'm the Superintendent of Schools here in Duneland, and thank you for joining me as we talk about the state of our schools this morning. I hope to spend about 45 minutes touching on a number of topics, as Maura mentioned, including our strategic plan, student performance, capital improvements, and corporation finances. And I'll spend some time after the presentation answering any questions, or we'll follow up individually with anyone that has a special request or would like more information. Each table has some brochures outlining the key points of our strategic plan, newsletters that were mailed to every address within the school corporation, boundaries late this summer, and a postcard with an invitation to come and see our recently renovated and newly constructed school buildings in the next couple of weeks. I'd like to take a moment to begin outlining the importance of our strategic plan. Last fall, the plan was updated from the prior four-year plan and now extends through 2028. A 51-member team of students, parents, community members, teachers, staff members, district administrators, and school board members identified strengths, addressed challenges, and set clear measurable goals that will help propel us toward academic excellence. The collaborative process of developing the plan ensures that diverse perspectives are considered, fostering a sense of inclusivity and responsibility. The plan is a living document that will adapt to the changing landscape of education as we demonstrate our commitment to providing a high-quality education that prepares our students for success in an ever-evolving world. I start here this morning because I think it's important for folks to understand that our roadmap is not made up on a whim or just come out of thin air. The defined priorities and clear direction for our initiatives are outlined in this strategic plan. Student performance. Before we look at our levels of current student performance, I want to take a moment and touch on a couple of important concepts that help inform our work relative to student performance. First and foremost, we believe that we're in competition for students. Families have many different options for where and how their children are going to be educated in the year 2024, and we are promoting a competitive environment with our principals, teachers, and staff that the school corporation is a destination location for families, to the point that if you reside in the district, we want you to not be able to pass up the opportunity for your child to attend one of our schools. In doing so, we understand that both the state legislature and national, state, and local media are going to focus on test scores to help determine which schools and school corporations are doing the best job of educating students. While we know there are problems with the sole determination of your success being a one-time test score, we don't shy away from the important skill development that these exams are measuring. That last concept has helped provide context to our student performance in the development of a league of comparable school corporations to compare ourselves. This slide shows Duneland English Language Arts student performance in grades 3 through 8 on iLearn, the state accountability exam, versus the state average and then what we call our league average. This league concept is embedded in the belief that our students have always performed above the state average. Therefore, to truly evaluate whether or not we are maximizing their potential, we needed to compare apples to apples. This slide shows the 17 different school corporations that we have chosen to compare. These are districts within the state of Indiana that are identified as suburban, have large comprehensive high schools of over 1,500 students, a free and reduced lunch population of under 40%, and where their community has passed an operating referendum to support the general fund. The rationale for this is that we want to compare ourselves with corporations and communities where students have many of the same advantages as our students. These school corporations are likely to sound familiar from a statewide perspective. Carmel, Zionsville, Brownsburg, Penn, Center Grove, and Noblesville, as well as including some of our local counterparts, Crown Point, Lake Central, Munster, and Valparaiso. This particular chart shows 6th grade English Language Arts performance over a 6-year period versus our League of Comparable School Corporations. The trend line here is consistent with what we are seeing in all of our grades 3 through 8 English and math assessments, with Duneland students moving to the top of the league. This slide is similar to the one I showed a couple of slides ago, except here we're analyzing math performance in grades 3 through 8 versus the state and league average. As in English Language Arts, we have always outperformed the state average, but now we're outperforming our league of comparables as well. The most comprehensive analysis the state uses to evaluate school corporations on student performance is the combined pass rate in English Language Arts and math for all students in grades 3 through 8. Using this measure, we rank 9th in the state of Indiana, and this includes all public, charter, and private schools. Our teachers, with help from our Department of Teaching and Learning and instructional coaches, have done tremendous work in this area. As we shift our focus to Chesterton High School, the faculty and administration have set the following goals for the 24-25 school year. You will notice a 98% graduation rate. This past year, the 2024 graduating cohort achieved a 99% graduation rate, an all-time high for CHS. This speaks to the personalized approach to learning, which every student will be prepared for whatever post-secondary path they choose. CHS is a college prep institution, and we will not apologize for that. Between 60 and 70% of our graduates will enroll in college. 2/3 of CHS graduates will have earned at least one college credit while in high school, and 1/3 of our graduates will have a year of college completed before enrolling in their freshman year of college. For students that do not plan to attend a 4-year college, we continue to offer many different career pathway options for students in coordination with the Porter County Career Center and the CHS Internship Program. This year, we developed new pathways for students in early childhood education, civil construction, and criminal justice. In the spirit of making sure the senior year of high school is a launching pad and not a holding tank, CHS has developed an internship program that the Chamber has so generously supported that now includes over 180 students, and with another 100 students involved in career and tech ed programs through the Porter County Career Center, over 60% of the graduating class leaves the building daily to develop employability skills in the community during the school day. Thank you to our community partners, some of which are with us today, that have so willingly supported this initiative. In addition to the traditional path of educating students in a brick and mortar building, we've also developed an online school, the only one of its kind in Northwest Indiana. The online school has found its place in the market as an alternative for students and families that prefer a non-traditional path for their schooling. Currently, we have about 120 students enrolled in our virtual academy for a multitude of reasons, including health restrictions, preferred learning style, club and extracurricular activities, family travel, or as an alternative to homeschool. While we recommend our in-person delivery model as our preferred option, we recognize that students and families preferring this option will either get it from us or they will have plenty of options to go get it elsewhere. At the beginning of the 22-23 school year, teachers and building level staff that previously worked for Porter County Education Services entered into contracts with the Duneland School Corporation. This fundamental change in how we work together with our special education staff changed the status quo that had been in place for 50 years. We're currently focused on increasing access to the general education curriculum and environment for all students, redesigning programs and services for students with intense emotional and behavioral needs, expanding programs for students with applied skills so that students can remain in their home school to the greatest extent possible, and delivering professional development in co-teaching, verbal de-escalation skills, and trauma-informed practices. We are just getting started and look forward to continuing to develop strategies, programs, and supports for all students. And last but not least, before transitioning to the operations side of the corporation, I'd like to touch on recent developments in birth to school programming. You may be surprised to learn that Indiana is one of 6 states that does not offer state-funded preschool for 4-year-olds. This presents some problems for us because we know that in the first 1,875 days before a child enters kindergarten, 90% of the brain is developed. And without some sort of formal training, it is much more difficult for kids to make these essential brain connections later in life. Some may ask, don't you have enough to do with students in kindergarten through 12th grade without worrying about younger students in which you don't receive any funding? I don't know how you can say that when you look at some of these statistics. The Duneland community has approximately 1,100 children that need high-quality care and early learning opportunities every year. Only 52% are receiving this support at a cost of approximately $13,000 per year per child. What that means to me is that we are going to get 200 kindergartners each year that are likely not ready for kindergarten. The mission of Duneland's Early Learning Hub is to empower caregivers with knowledge, resources, and opportunities for early childhood development. The goal is to create outreach opportunities that will help children and their families build relationships, access information, foster school readiness, and increase awareness of available resources. The program assists families in preparing their children to thrive academically, socially, and emotionally. The Hub is not a preschool where families drop off their children for childcare. Instead, it is a place for caregivers and their children to learn while playing together. The Hub provides district families with children ages birth to 5 years old with opportunities to prepare for entry into formal schooling. Thoughtful planning and attention to the community's unique needs has made the Hub a go-to resource for Duneland families. All classes and learning opportunities are play-based. While at the Hub, caregivers and children can experience play and learning based on language, socialization, early literacy and numeracy concepts, self-help, and exploration and discovery opportunities. The Hub team provides the setting and encouragement while caregivers get to enjoy playing and learning during this special time with their child or children. Families can choose classes that best meet their needs, and this is a good segue into a presentation on the operations side of the district. As most of you are likely aware, the corporation has partnered with the YMCA to develop the former Chesterton Middle School into a healthy living campus for the Duneland Y. Currently, the school corporation's Early Learning Hub operates out of the same space as our developmental preschool program for students with disabilities and 2 YMCA preschool classes. Later this fall, Jacob's Ladder, a nonprofit-based business that specializes in providing rehabilitation services for children with disabilities, will co-locate in this space. In 2019, the school corporation commissioned an enrollment study to help us plan for the future. Soon thereafter, the corporation conducted a facility study to determine the long-term viability of each school building. We learned that our enrollment would remain relatively flat over the next 10 to 20 years, and that our K-8 buildings were in need of significant mechanical, electrical, and plumbing improvements. As a result, we then started on working on a long-term facility plan that would serve students for the next 20 years. It was at that time, in 2021, that the school board decided we had one too many buildings and there would be operational savings to be had if we could get from 9 schools to 8. In addition, all of the K-8 schools could be renovated at a substantial cost savings versus building a new school except for 2, Yost Elementary and Chesterton Middle School. Both schools exceeded the 80% threshold of the cost of renovation versus the cost of new construction. With this information now in hand, the decision to build a new Yost and to vacate Chesterton Middle School was the most sensible from a financial standpoint. The ability to create more opportunities for students by moving back to 2 middle school campuses at Liberty and Westchester was an added bonus. From the school corporation perspective, the worst thing that could have happened was for us to vacate CMS and nobody in the community would want it, and we'd tear it down and sell it to a residential developer sometime in the future. We are extremely happy the YMCA was interested in the site, and we look forward to working with them as they move programming from their Roosevelt Street location to Morgan Avenue. As we sit here in the fall of '24, we're now completing a $171 million, 3-year long-term capital improvement process that included the construction of a new Yost Elementary School, full renovations at Bailey, Brummett, Jackson, and Liberty Elementary Schools, and renovations and new additions to house 5th through 8th grade students at Liberty and Westchester campuses. In all, the K-8 new construction and renovations will provide safe, secure, and updated learning environments for the next 20 years. As these projects finish up, we'll turn our attention to improvements at Chesterton High School. In the past year, improvements have been made to CHS in the pool, football and track stadium, building trades workshop, weight room, gymnastics facility, and established a civil construction pathway out at Sunset Hill Park. In the next year, we hope to replace carpet throughout the high school and make improvements to the soccer stadium and main gym. I welcome you to join us for a community open house and site tour taking place at each of the schools over the next 2 weeks, with the first next Wednesday at Brummett and Jackson, next Thursday at Bailey and Yost, and then the following week on Monday at Liberty and Wednesday at Westchester. It begs the question, with all the capital improvements, where is the money coming from? And is this why my taxes are going up? To that I would say, we didn't do it. Bear with me as we walk through some specifics to school finance and how it relates to the Duneland schools and community taxpayers. We receive funding for an $85 million budget to operate schools from 2 primary sources: tuition support from the state of Indiana and local property taxes. The budget passed by our state senators and representatives every 2 years has traditionally accounted for 50% of the entire state budget. In 2023, the legislature allocated 47% of all state dollars to K-12 public education and championed the budget as the most money ever given to public schools. While technically true, we are all living through inflation, and the percentage of the budget allocated to K-12 public schools was actually a 6% decrease. The education fund makes up approximately half of the school corporation budget and is used to fund educational programs, namely teacher and building level support staff salaries. The other half of the budget comes from property tax support in 3 distinct areas: debt service, operations, and operating referendum. The operations fund makes up 25 to 30% of the school corporation budget and is used for maintenance, transportation staff, including administrators. The big difference between the education fund and the operations fund is that the funds cannot commingle, meaning we can't pay teachers more out of the operations fund. Unfortunately, the only way to pay teachers more is to pass an operating referendum. This vehicle for funding was implemented by the state legislature and requires a school corporation to ask the community for additional resources to support academic programs and teacher salaries by passing an additional tax. Thankfully, the Duneland community has supported this request both in 2012 and 2019. The dollars generated by the operating referendum make up 11% of the budget and are actively supporting low class sizes, instructional support in the form of reading specialists and instructional coaches, school counselors in every school, registered nurses in every school, 6 police officers that receive formal training as school resource officers throughout the district, and extra and co-curricular program support. As a result, we're able to take those education fund and operation referendum fund dollars and put them towards teacher salaries. In 2024, Duneland starting teacher pay was $54,000, which ranks 3rd in the state. Now, I'm very happy that we've been able to boost teacher pay. This has allowed us to attract teachers from throughout the region and bring back many of our own. In this last hiring cycle, 40% of our new teachers were CHS graduates. But I think we're kidding ourselves if we think our kids are going to pursue a career as a teacher on $54,000 a year. If we don't continue to prioritize teacher salaries, the quality of our teaching staff will suffer, and we will not be able to sustain the level of programming that serves our kids so well. With that in mind, I can't imagine not asking our school board to consider asking the community to support a renewal of our operating referendum in 2026. The debt service fund makes up approximately 13% of the overall school budget, and like the operations fund, can't be commingled. It is used to finance capital improvements throughout the district. This is the fund that financed the long-term capital improvements that we are finishing up this fall. One of the ways that school corporations manage the tax rate, or the funds that come from property taxes, is to try and replace expiring debt with new debt when making capital improvements. This keeps the tax rate flat and does not negatively impact taxpayers. This chart depicts the historical tax rate as far back as 2008 and projects out to 2027. You'll notice the tax rate over the past 10 years has gone as low as 99 cents and as high as $1.08. It has been a priority of the school board to keep the tax rate and future tax rates within these parameters. When taking on a project the size of the one we're just completing and wanting to keep taxes neutral, there has to be some debt coming off the books. This chart shows the debt from construction of the high school in 2001, coming off the books in 2022, and then another general obligation bond from 2015 coming off in 2023. The money that financed the projects we're completing now replaced this debt and kept the tax rate level. Someone said to me last week, well, if the tax rate remained level, then why did my taxes go up? Taxes went up due to the assessed valuation in the community going up. The median home price in the community is now almost $300,000, up from $200,000 just 5 years ago. This illustration shows how a home that saw their assessed valuation increase from $325,000 to $357,000 and what they may expect for an increase, keeping in mind all residential properties can only be taxed at 1% of the gross assessed value. We take great care to provide tremendous return on investment for our taxpayers, and I hope you will agree that you are seeing this reflected in your property values. I finished today touching on a couple of significant changes for this school year. We've implemented a new 3-tier bus routing schedule that resulted in adjusted school start and end times across the district. While this has changed established routines for students, families, and staff, I can report that the 3-tiered routing bus system is working. Students are spending on average 15 to 25 minutes door to door traveling to and from school, with the longest commute time at 33 minutes. This is in contrast to previous school years where the average was 45 to 55 minutes, and it was not uncommon for longer commutes to be in the 65 to 75 minute range. We certainly have a lot to celebrate, and as we move through this school year, I look forward to hearing from principals, teachers, bus drivers, parents, community members, and chamber members about our new success stories. Now able to take any questions or comments that you may have. Thank you.
Great job. Overall, one of the things that stood out to me was the testing scores. And, even over the last 4 years, grades 3 through 8, we were in the high 40% range, and now we're in the mid 60% range, 65-ish, I think. What do you think is attributed to, the dramatic increase, which is, I think, an outstanding testament to our school?
Well, I think our teachers have done a great job, and that teaching job is very complex. And as we think back to some of our best teachers, they're in many ways the teachers that make great relationships with kids. But many of our teachers are also not trained to be content development experts and assessment development experts. And we've had a lot of growth in that area in recent years, and our teachers have really done a nice job of latching onto that so that the instruction that's taking place in our schools is directly tied to the skills that students need to be successful as they move through the school district, and that byproduct of that is they're also assessed on these standardized assessments. I think at times the standardized assessments get a bad rap, and it's because of the accountability factor, and it's a one-time test score. But we feel that the iLearn assessments, the iRead assessments, they're good tests, and they measure the skill levels that we want our students to be able to attain. And I'm proud of our teachers that they have embraced that and are working hard to make sure that students have those skills. Yeah.
One of the things that we have seen over the last couple of weeks is the proposed change in the state of Indiana diploma starting in class of 2027. Do you feel, or starting in 2027, sorry, how do you feel that the Duneland School Corporation is prepared or will have to pivot in order to handle that?
Sure, and for those that might not be familiar with that topic, the legislature has charged the Indiana Department of Education of redesigning the high school experience, and as a result, changing or adjusting some diploma requirements. And while I think the rollout of what the Department of Education is proposing may have been there may have been a misstep or two, and I think that the misstep may have been getting our high-profile post-secondary institutions on board first, meaning IU, Purdue, Ball State, Indiana State, our large publics, because those post-secondary institutions are always going to drive what the high school experience is for kids that are going to pursue the four-year degree. That will never change at Chesterton High School. As I mentioned before, we are a college prep institution. We will not shy away from that, and we're providing opportunities for kids in dual credit, advanced placement, and IB courses, and will continue to do so. I think that what the Department of Ed and the legislature is looking to do is create more opportunities for students that may not want to pursue the four-year college degree path. And that would be creating two-year degree pathways through Ivy Tech, and then also apprenticeship and internship programs through the high school in which students are working on employability skills. We are well positioned to do that with an internship program that has already been developed and a career center model in Porter County that is also very strong. So we are not concerned about the new diploma requirements. In fact, we will just look to leverage those to our advantage, and our students will be the benefit.
Hi, Dr. Pettit. Thanks for a great presentation. It was really exciting to see the Birth to School programming, and I know that that's something that's very unique to Duneland School Corporation as a district in Indiana. I'm curious if you've heard anecdotally about that kindergarten readiness from children who have passed through the hub, what teachers are saying. I know it's probably early to have actual data, but just
Well, I see with our incoming kindergartners, it's a bit of the Wild West from the standpoint that we are getting students at all different levels coming to kindergarten. So in terms of how we staff our kindergarten, we want to make sure that our class sizes are lowest in kindergarten, that we have instructional aid support, because in many ways, we're not sure what we're getting when students arrive. So I think that the goal and the vision with the Early Learning Hub, again, is that we are not looking to be a preschool provider because we can't afford it. But we would like to see every 3- and 4-year-old in the Duneland community have a high quality preschool experience. And the YMCA is a natural partner for us. We co-locate within the same building. And as we think about the existing part of the middle school that the Y is, will occupy, if there's an entire wing that expands down to Morgan that is all for early childhood learning and more preschool space, that would be wonderful. But it also doesn't mean that there aren't other high quality preschools within the community that we also want to support and facilitate information for families where we can be a resource so everybody knows what is available. Well, I will definitely stick around in case anybody has any questions or comments individually. There are a number of items on the table, from postcards, brochures, a mailer that went to all mailboxes within the district, and there's even some stickers. I know those tend to be popular, whether it's coffee mugs, computers, or coolers. Please don't hesitate to take those with you. Thanks again.